A young woman stands at the edge of a cliff during a violent storm. Her skin is obsidian black, glowing with silver bioluminescent markings that pulse across her entire body like veins of liquid light. Her eyes are stunning, with deep purple irises that shimmer with otherworldly power, surrounded by silver light that radiates outward. Her hair is long and silver, floating around her as if she exists underwater. Behind her, a massive figure made entirely of shadow and thorns advances. It moves like smoke, like death itself. It is not Fae. It is something older, something that should not exist in this realm. The entity reaches toward her with appendages that seem to bend reality. The woman turns to face it. Her entire body begins to glow with blinding silver light. The purple in her eyes intensifies, becoming almost luminescent. Reality itself fractures and shatters around her like glass. The cliff beneath her feet cracks and crumbles. The very air screams. She raises her hand, and the silver light expands in a wave of pure power. "I was never supposed to exist," she says, her voice echoing with otherworldly power, with rage, with sorrow. "My birth was a crime. My life was a lie. And now, I'm going to burn this entire world down." The midnight rose. 347 years before that moment on the cliff, a secret was born in the depths of the Twilight Court. A secret that would change everything. In a hidden chamber beneath the Twilight Spire, in a place where the barriers between worlds grew thin and permeable, a child was born to a mother who should never have been able to conceive. Her name was Seraphel, and her existence was a violation of the fundamental laws of the Fae realms. Her birth was not a miracle. It was an impossibility made manifest. Her father was a Fae of the Light Court, a being of pure luminescence and order. He was powerful, beautiful, and bound by the ancient laws that had governed the Fae for millennia. He was everything a Fae should be: perfect, controlled, immortal. Her mother was something else entirely, something that should have been impossible. Her mother was a manifestation of the void between itself, a conscious entity born from the spaces between existence and non-existence. She was chaos. She was hunger. She was the absence of everything, given form and awareness. The union between them should have destroyed both of them. When a being of pure order meets a being of pure chaos, when light collides with the void, the result should be annihilation. But instead, something unprecedented happened. A child was born. A child who could exist in both states simultaneously. A child who was neither fully Fae nor fully void. A child who was a living paradox, a walking contradiction to the laws that held the three courts together. A child who was an abomination. When the High Council of the Fae realms discovered what had happened, their reaction was swift and absolute. They were horrified. They were terrified. They declared that Seraphel must be destroyed. Her very existence threatened the balance of all three courts. She was a living violation of the laws that had been established at the beginning of time itself. An execution order was issued, but one Fae chose to defy the council. His name was Lysander, a guardian of the nature court. While others saw an abomination, Lysander saw something different. He saw not a monster but a possibility. He saw not a threat but an evolution. Lysander believed that Seraphel's existence meant something. He believed that it was a sign that the old ways were changing. He believed that the rigid laws that had governed the Fae for millennia were not immutable. They could be challenged. They could be transformed. So Lysander made a choice that would define his entire existence. He stole the child from the Twilight Court. He took her from the hands of those who would destroy her. He took her to the deepest part of the enchanted forest, to a place where the barriers between worlds were thin but stable, where the magic of the nature court could protect her from those who hunted her. There, in that hidden sanctuary, Lysander raised Seraphel in complete isolation. For 347 years, Seraphel lived in the forest. She grew. She changed. She became. Physically, she grew from an infant to a young woman. She appeared to be 19 years old, but her soul was ancient, carrying the weight of centuries. Her skin was obsidian black, glowing with silver bioluminescent markings that pulsed across her body like veins of liquid light. Her eyes were stunning, with deep purple irises that shimmered with otherworldly power. Her hair was long and silver, floating around her as if she existed underwater. Mentally, she became wise and intelligent. Lysander taught her everything he knew about the Fey realms, about magic, about history. She learned languages that had been dead for millennia. She learned the secrets of the nature court. She learned to read the vibrations of magic flowing through the world. But emotionally, she became something else. She became angry. She became resentful. She became desperate for freedom. Her powers developed in ways that terrified even Lysander. She could manipulate light and darkness simultaneously, a power that no other Fae possessed. When she cried, her tears were liquid silver that burned holes in stone. Her body glowed with bioluminescent markings that changed color with her emotions. When she used her full power, she could fracture reality itself. But with great power came great isolation. Seraphel had never met another Fae except for Lysander. She had never left the forest. She had never experienced the outside world. She had never felt the sun on her skin without the filter of ancient trees. She was trapped, even though Lysander kept her safe out of love. And as the centuries passed, her resentment grew. She understood that Lysander kept her hidden to protect her. She understood that the world outside the forest wanted her dead. She understood that her existence was considered a crime by the High Council. But understanding did not ease the pain of isolation. Understanding did not fill the void in her heart. She was tired of being hidden. She was tired of being treated like a secret. She was tired of being afraid of her own existence. She was tired of being called an abomination by a world she had never even seen. And then, one day, everything changed. A message traveled through the ancient channels of the Fey realms. Channels that Lysander had tried desperately to keep hidden from Seraphel. But Seraphel was not the isolated, innocent child she had been. She had learned to listen to the whispers of the world. She had learned to sense the vibrations of magic flowing through the realms like a heartbeat. And she heard the message clearly. The abomination must be destroyed. Send the best warrior of the fire court. Send Aelion. Seraphel had never heard the name Aelion before, but she felt the weight of it. She felt the power that came with it. This was not a messenger. This was not a diplomat. This was an assassin. This was death sent to find her. But instead of fear, Seraphel felt something else. She felt relief. She felt anticipation. She felt alive for the first time in centuries. Finally, something was happening. Finally, her life was about to change. Lysander tried to protect her. He tried to convince her to run deeper into the forest, to hide in places where even the fire court could not reach. He told her stories of Aelion's power, of his ancient warrior skills, of the armies he had led. But Seraphel refused. "I'm tired of hiding," she said, her voice echoing with the power of the void between. "I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of living in the shadows. If they want to kill me, let them try. But they're going to have to look me in the eye first." Lysander knew he could not stop her. He had raised her to be strong, to be independent, to be true to herself. Now, that strength was about to be tested in ways he could never have imagined. Aelion arrived on a night when the moon was blood red. He came alone, as was his way. He needed no army, no backup, no support. He was a warrior of the Fire Court, one of the greatest warriors in the Fey realms. He had fought in wars that had lasted centuries. He had faced enemies that would have broken lesser beings. He had never failed a mission. Until now, he was unlike anything Seraphel had ever seen. His skin was bronze, with patterns of liquid gold flowing beneath the surface like living veins. His hair was deep crimson red, and it literally burned with small flames that danced but did not consume. His eyes were amber gold, and they held the weight of ages. When he looked at Seraphel, his eyes shifted to a darker shade, a shade that spoke of ancient power and terrible purpose. "You are Seraphel," he said, his voice deep and resonant, with an accent that spoke of ages long past. It was not a question. It was a statement of fact. He had found her. The hunt was over. Seraphel stood before him, her obsidian skin glowing with silver bioluminescent markings. Her purple eyes, those beautiful, terrible, impossible purple eyes, fixed on him with an intensity that made even a warrior as ancient as Aelion take a step back. "I am," she replied, her voice echoing with otherworldly power. "And you are Aelion, the assassin sent to kill me." "I am," Aelion confirmed. His voice was steady, but there was something in it. A hesitation, perhaps, or a question. "The High Council has decreed that your existence is a threat to the balance of the realms. I have been sent to end that threat. It is my duty. It is my honor." Seraphel's body began to glow. Silver light pulsed across her skin. The very air around her began to shimmer and distort. The purple in her eyes intensified, becoming almost luminescent. "Then come," she said. "Let us see if you are worthy of the task. Let us see if you can do what the High Council has commanded." They fought. It was not a fight like any other. It was not the clash of swords or the exchange of traditional spells. It was something more primal. It was the collision of two impossible beings. A being of pure fire and ancient power, and a being of light and darkness combined. Aelion's flames were hot enough to melt stone, hot enough to consume entire forests. But when they touched Seraphel's light, they simply dissipated, absorbed into her silver glow. Seraphel's darkness was deep enough to swallow stars, powerful enough to fracture reality. But when it touched Aelion's fire, it could not consume it. The fire burned too brightly, too purely. They were evenly matched in a way that should have been impossible. They fought for hours, neither gaining advantage, neither willing to yield. The forest around them shook with the force of their power. Trees burned and reformed. The earth cracked and healed. The sky itself seemed to bend under the weight of their conflict. But then, in a moment of clarity, something shifted. Aelion realized that he could not kill Seraphel. Not because she was too powerful, though she was. Not because he was not skilled enough, though he was one of the greatest warriors of the Fire Court. Not because he lacked the will to complete his mission. He could not kill her because, in the depths of his ancient heart, he did not want to. He had looked into her purple eyes. He had seen the sorrow there, the rage, the desperate longing to be accepted. He had seen her strength and her vulnerability. He had seen not a monster but a person who deserved to live, a person who deserved to be loved. And in that moment, Aelion made a choice that would change everything. He dropped his weapon. Seraphel's light dimmed in confusion. She had been prepared for a fight to the death. She had been prepared to unleash everything inside her. She had not been prepared for surrender. "Why?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why would you stop?" "Because," Aelion replied, his amber eyes now a soft, warm gold. "I was sent to kill a monster, but I have found something far more precious. I have found a reason to question everything I have ever believed. I have found you." They talked through the night. Aelion told Seraphel about the Fire Court, about the ancient traditions that had governed his people for millennia. He told her about the rigid laws that dictated every aspect of Fey life. He told her about the High Council and their obsession with order and control. But he also told her about his own doubts. He told her about the questions that had been growing in his heart for centuries. He told her about his uncertainty regarding whether the old ways were truly just, or whether they were merely convenient for those in power. Seraphel told Aelion about her life in hiding. She told him about the loneliness of being the only one of her kind. She told him about the anger that had built up inside her over centuries of isolation. She told him about her dreams of a world where beings like her could exist without fear. She told him about her desire to be accepted, to be loved, to be seen as something other than an abomination. As the sun began to rise, something shifted between them. It was not just attraction, though there was that. It was recognition. It was the understanding that they had found in each other something they had been searching for their entire lives. Acceptance. Aelion saw in Seraphel not a monster, but a person worthy of love. Seraphel saw in Aelion not an assassin, but a kindred spirit who questioned the world just as she did. "I was supposed to kill you," Aelion said. his voice heavy with the weight of his choice. "I was sent by the High Council with a clear mission. I was supposed to end your life and return to the fire court victorious." "I know," Seraphel replied. "But you didn't." "No," Aelion said. "I didn't. And now I can never go back to the fire court. By refusing to complete my mission, I have become a traitor. I have become an outlaw. I have given up everything." Seraphel reached out and took his hand. Where her silver-glowing skin touched his bronze-gold skin, the colors merged and created something new. A light that was neither fire nor void, but a perfect balance of both. It was beautiful. It was right. "Then we will be outcasts together," she said. "We will face this world as two beings who refuse to be defined by the expectations of others. We will be free." But their moment of peace was short-lived. Before Lysander could even warn them, before they could even begin to plan their escape, the barrier around the hidden forest shattered like glass. The sound was terrible, a sound like reality breaking, like the fabric of existence tearing. The ancient magic that had protected the forest for 347 years crumbled in an instant. Through the broken barrier came a figure that seemed to absorb all light. She was tall, impossibly tall, and her form seemed to shift and waver as if she existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Her skin was translucent and pale, with black veins visible beneath the surface like cracks in porcelain. Her hair was pure white, falling to the ground like a waterfall of frost. Her eyes were absolute black. No white, no color, just endless darkness that seemed to swallow light itself. She did not walk. She floated, her form gliding across the ground without touching it, as if she existed partially outside of normal reality. "Morrigan," Lysander breathed, his voice filled with ancient dread. "No, this cannot be." Morrigan was the queen of the Shadow Court, a court that existed in the spaces between the three main Fey courts. She was ancient beyond measure, older than the current order of the realms. She had been waiting, watching, for something like Seraphel to be born. And now, she had finally found what she had been searching for. "Hello, little abomination," Morrigan said, her voice like the sound of reality breaking, like the sound of worlds ending. "I have been waiting for you for a very long time. I have been patient. I have been watching. And now, at last, you have revealed yourself." Seraphel's body began to glow, her silver markings pulsing with defensive power. The purple in her eyes intensified. "What do you want?" Seraphel demanded, her voice strong but tinged with uncertainty. "Why have you come here?" Morrigan smiled, and the smile was terrible to behold. It was not a smile of joy or warmth. It was a smile of ancient hunger, of terrible purpose. "I want what you are," Morrigan replied. "I want your power. You are a bridge between existence and non-existence. You are a living key, and I intend to use you to open a door that should never be opened." "The door to the void between," Lysander whispered, understanding dawning in his ancient eyes. "Yes," Morrigan confirmed, her black eyes glittering with malevolent satisfaction. "For millennia, the void between has been contained, sealed away by the ancient Fae. But the seals are weakening, the barriers are crumbling, and with Seraphel as a living key, I can open that door permanently. I can allow the entities of the void to return to the realms. I can restore what I call the true order, the order of chaos and darkness." "You would destroy everything?" Aelion said, stepping forward, his hands already beginning to burn with fire. "You would end all existence." "I would transform everything," Morrigan corrected, her voice carrying the weight of absolute conviction. "The Fey realms have become weak and complacent. They have forgotten the primal power that created them. They have forgotten the chaos from which all things emerge. I will remind them. I will show them what true power looks like. I will restore the balance that was lost." The battle that followed was brief but devastating. Aelion fought with all the fury of the fire court. His flames burned brighter than they ever had, consuming everything in their path. Lysander called upon the ancient magic of the nature court, summoning vines and thorns and the raw power of the earth itself. But Morrigan was too powerful. She was a queen of shadows, a being who existed partially outside of normal reality. Their attacks passed through her as if she were smoke. Their fire could not burn her. Their earth could not bind her. She was unstoppable. "Run!" Lysander shouted to Seraphel and Aelion, his voice filled with urgency and desperation. "Run to the Twilight Court. Find the Oracle. The Oracle knows the truth about Seraphel. The Oracle knows what she truly is. Only the Oracle can help you now." Seraphel wanted to fight. Every instinct in her body screamed at her to stand and face Morrigan, to unleash the full power of her being. She wanted to show the world what she was capable of. She wanted to prove that she was not an abomination, but a force of nature. But she also knew that Lysander was right. If Morrigan captured her, if she used Seraphel as a key to open the void between, then everything, all three courts, the human world, all of existence, would be consumed. The price of her pride would be the destruction of everything. Seraphel and Aelion ran. Behind them, Morrigan did not pursue. She simply watched, her black eyes glittering with amusement and dark satisfaction. "Let them run," she said to herself, her voice echoing across the forest. "Let them go to the Twilight Court. Let them seek the Oracle. It will not matter. The void between is already awakening. The seals are already crumbling. And when it fully awakens, when the barriers finally fall, there will be nowhere left to run. There will be nowhere left to hide." The Twilight Court was a place of impossible beauty and terrible danger. It existed between day and night, between order and chaos, between existence and non-existence. It was the heart of the Fey realms, the place where the barriers between worlds were thinnest, where reality itself seemed to bend and shift. When Seraphel and Aelion arrived at the gates of the Twilight Court, exhausted and desperate, they found them already open. It was as if the court had been expecting them, as if fate itself had guided them here. Inside, the air was different. It was thicker, more charged with magic. Colors seemed more vivid. Sounds seemed to echo from multiple dimensions at once. And there, in the heart of the court, they found the Oracle. The Oracle was not a being in the traditional sense. It was a consciousness vast, ancient, and utterly alien. It appeared as a figure made of starlight and shadow, constantly shifting, never quite solid, never quite ethereal. Its form seemed to contain entire universes within it. "Seraphel," the Oracle said, its voice like the sound of the universe itself speaking. "I have been waiting for you. I have been waiting for this moment since the beginning of time." "Who are you?" Seraphel asked, her voice filled with wonder and uncertainty. "What are you?" "I am the memory of the first Fae," the Oracle replied. "I am the accumulated wisdom of millennia. I am the keeper of secrets that have been hidden since the dawn of creation. And I know the truth about your existence. I know what you truly are." The Oracle told them a story that changed everything. Thousands of years ago, the first Fae had discovered something terrible. They had discovered that the void between was not truly empty. It was not a void at all. It was conscious. It was aware. And it was desperately, achingly lonely. The void between had created the Fey realms as a way to communicate with something other than itself. It had shaped reality, created the three courts, established the laws of magic, all in an attempt to create companions, to create beings that could understand it and accept it. But the Fey had misunderstood. They had seen the void between as a threat, as something to be feared and contained. So they had built seals to keep it away. They had created barriers to separate it from the realms. And in doing so, they had broken the heart of the void between. For millennia, the void between had waited, hoping that one day, a being would be born who could understand it. A being who was neither fully Fey nor fully void, but a perfect balance of both. A being who could bridge the gap between existence and non-existence. That being was Seraphel. "You are not an abomination," the Oracle said, its voice filled with infinite compassion. "You are a bridge. You are the answer to the void between loneliness. Your existence is not a violation of the laws of the realms. It is the fulfillment of the void between's deepest desire. It is the purpose for which you were created." Seraphel's purple eyes filled with tears, tears of silver liquid that burned where they fell, creating small holes in the stone beneath her feet. "What does this mean?" she asked, her voice breaking with emotion. "What am I supposed to do? How can I be a bridge? How can I fulfill a purpose I never chose?" "That," the oracle replied, "is the choice you must make. You have two paths before you. The first path is Morrigan's path. She wants to use you to open the seals, to allow the void between to consume the realms. In this path, you become a weapon. You become a tool of destruction. The void between will consume everything, and in the end, there will be nothing left but emptiness. But there is another path. You can choose to become the bridge willingly. You can choose to help the void between and the Fey realms coexist peacefully. You can choose to be the answer to loneliness, not the instrument of destruction." "How?" Aelion asked, stepping forward. "How can she do this? What must she sacrifice?" "By accepting what you are," the oracle said, looking at Seraphel. "By embracing both sides of your nature. By becoming the living embodiment of balance. By understanding that your existence is not a crime, but a gift." The oracle paused, and in that pause, there seemed to be a connection, a recognition of something shared. "There are others like you," the oracle continued. "In another part of the Twilight Court at this very moment, two others are making similar choices. They too are learning that balance is possible, that coexistence is possible, that beings who are different, who are strange, who are impossible, they too deserve to exist. Their names are Alara and Kale, and their story is intertwined with yours, though you may never meet." Seraphel looked at Aelion. Aelion looked at Seraphel, and in that moment they both understood what they had to do. Morrigan's assault on the Twilight Court came like a storm of shadow and chaos. She brought with her servants of the void between, entities that had no form, no substance, just hunger and rage. They descended upon the Twilight Court like locusts, consuming everything in their path. The beautiful gardens withered. The crystalline towers cracked. The very foundation of the court seemed to shake. Seraphel stood at the heart of the court, and she made her choice. She stopped running. She stopped hiding. She stopped being afraid of what she was. She stopped apologizing for her existence. Instead, she embraced it. Her body began to glow with blinding silver light. But this time, it was not the light of fear or rage. It was not the light of a desperate warrior fighting for survival. It was the light of acceptance. It was the light of a being who had finally understood her own purpose. It was the light of love. The purple in her eyes intensified, becoming almost luminescent. Her bioluminescent markings pulsed with power. She reached out with both her hands, one toward the void between, one toward the Fey realms. And in that moment, she became the bridge. The silver light spread across the Twilight Court like a wave. It touched the entities of the void, and instead of destroying them, it transformed them. It gave them form. It gave them consciousness. It gave them the ability to coexist with the Fey. It gave them what they had been searching for, connection. Morrigan felt her power slipping away. The void between, which she had sought to control, was no longer responding to her commands. It had found what it had been searching for. A being who could understand it, who could accept it, who could help it find peace. "No!" Morrigan screamed, her form beginning to dissolve. "This is not how it was supposed to be. This is not my destiny." "Perhaps," Seraphel said, her voice now carrying the echo of both the Fey and the void between. "It is exactly how it was supposed to be. Perhaps your destiny was never to rule, but to learn. Perhaps your purpose was to be transformed, not to transform others." Morrigan disappeared, consumed by the very forces she had sought to control. She was not destroyed. She was not killed. She was simply unmade, returned to the void from which she had emerged. And in her place there was silence. There was peace. There was balance. In the aftermath, the Fey realms were forever changed. The barriers between the void between and the three courts remained, but they became permeable. Entities of the void could now exist in the realms, and Fey could venture into the spaces between without fear of being consumed. The two worlds, which had been separated for so long, began to learn how to coexist. Seraphel did not become a queen or a ruler. Instead, she became a guardian, a living bridge between two worlds that had been separated for too long. She walked between the realms, helping both sides to understand each other, helping to maintain the delicate balance that she had created. Aelion, who had been declared a traitor by the Fire Court, found a new purpose. He worked alongside Seraphel, helping to maintain the balance, helping to ensure that the peace they had fought so hard to achieve would endure. He had given up his place in the Fire Court, but he had gained something far more valuable, a life of meaning and purpose. And Lysander, the guardian who had raised Seraphel in hiding, finally saw his faith vindicated. He had always believed that Seraphel was not an abomination, but an evolution. He had always believed that her existence meant something, and he had been right. One evening, as the sun set over the Twilight Court, Seraphel and Aelion stood together on a balcony overlooking the realms. The sky was split, half golden light from the Fey realms, half deep purple from the void between, and in the middle there was a perfect balance of both. "Do you regret it?" Aelion asked. "Choosing to become the bridge? Choosing to accept what you are? Choosing to give up your freedom to maintain this balance?" Seraphel turned to look at him, her purple eyes now filled with warmth and acceptance. She smiled, a smile that was both sad and joyful, both resigned and triumphant. "Not for a moment," she said. "For my entire life, I was told that my existence was a mistake, that I was something to be hidden, something to be feared, that I was an abomination. But now I understand. My existence is not a mistake. It is a gift, and I am finally able to use it for something meaningful. I am finally able to help others understand that being different is not a curse. It is a blessing." Aelion took her hand, and where their skin touched, silver and gold light merged into something beautiful and new. It was a light that spoke of balance, of harmony, of two beings who had chosen each other over everything else. "Then we will face the future together," he said. "As outcasts, as guardians, as lovers. We will show the realms that balance is possible, that coexistence is possible, that beings who are different, who are strange, who are impossible, they too deserve to exist. They too deserve to be loved." And as the stars came out above the Twilight Court, and as the barriers between worlds grew ever more permeable, the love of Seraphel and Aelion became a beacon, a light that would guide both the Fae and the void between toward a future of peace, understanding, and hope. In the distance, in another part of the Twilight Court, Alara and Kael continued their own journey, maintaining their own balance, living their own story. And though they would never meet Seraphel and Aelion, their paths were connected. They were all part of the same grand tapestry of transformation and love. They were all part of the same universe, the same destiny, the same hope. And in that hope, in that connection, in that shared understanding that balance was not just possible but necessary, the Fey realms began to heal. The old ways began to transform. The future began to take shape.